Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. I shall see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today. Very late at night episode, probably the latest it can be, as long as there's loads in time. Let's see how many seconds do we have until the day ticks over. We got about 50 seconds. Yeah, late night episode. Just couldn't be bothered. Well, okay, it's a mix of couldn't be bothered and it was a little bit busy. Still might stay up a little bit. Oh yeah, hold on. Did I hopefully schedule everything properly? Do I have a thing scheduled for tomorrow? Because I believe Okami started today. It did seem like it. That's pretty amazing. But anyway, good evening everyone. And now in Fawnhollow, it's 11:59 PM on Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. I don't know if how far back have I done responding to comments? I think I did 3 weeks. Well, I did 3 weeks and then it started building up again, so I need to actually start responding again. Apologies for those waiting for me to read and stuff. It's just been crazy. I like saying crazy like that. Crazy. Anyway, what are we going to talk about today? I don't really know. I can't really talk about headbangers again because I spoke about it yesterday, if anything. Excuse me. Also because I played more headbangers yesterday. Hold on, I spoke about it basically 3 days in a row. Like, I spoke about it having not played it the first time. And the second one, I was like, okay, I played a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm like fully hooked. And the third one is like, it's a pretty good game. And it turns out I am actually genuinely quite good at that game. So, you know, my friend, he was spot on. Well, he wasn't quite spot on. He said I would win 10. The first 10 games I played, he said I'd win all 10. That didn't quite happen, but I have reached the final, I think, every single time I've played. And I've probably got like a 50% win rate, is my guess. And how many have I played? I'm going to guess I've played 8 games? I'm not really sure if that's true. I mean, I could look at achievements or something. And it's just, as it turns out, genuinely something I'm pretty good at for, you know, not for whatever reason. Obviously, rhythm game practice certainly helps a lot, but if I can see my achievement progress, I partook in 10 tournaments, so I've done at least 10. I've not won 10 tournaments, unsurprisingly. Unfortunately, it does not quite say how many I've won. But I've won more than 1, but I've won less than 10. I think I'd had to actually open up the game itself to particularly find out. I think it's plausible I've won 5 of them, or so. I don't even know what my lowest placement is. My lowest placement might be like 3rd or 4th or something. Does that seem reasonable? I don't know. Can I think of ones I won? I won the first minecart one. I won the minecart one again. I won Votre Majesté. I can't even think what other finals are. I think I won the disc spinning one at one point. And I don't know. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that in today's episode. We're here to talk about, I don't know, what can we talk about? We've got some big updates coming tomorrow, you know, Genshin Impact, Project Sakai, new event. I don't really know what to talk about. We can talk about, like, Escapist, I suppose. I mean, more of a sort of, like, meta game news stuff. I don't really know what happened, but the thing is, I just like saw on Reddit being like, Escapist has completely imploded, and Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation has left, which is crazy. Because I'm sure I'm not alone when I say that I kind of watched the only things I participated with Escapist videos was Zero Punctuation. Excuse me. There were like a couple of other videos I've seen from him, but only because I was watching Zero Punctuation, and you know, I was like, oh, you know, I should go. And I saw like a video which I was mildly interested in and watched as well, but it was all Zero Punctuation. If you don't know what Zero Punctuation is, I'm not like an expert in it or anything or like a super fan of Yahtzee or anything. I just know his name. It's basically, he kind of reviews video games. He has, I think most people would describe him as a bit more, I'm not sure cynical is quite the right word, but he certainly got like a bit more of an edge, I suppose, to his reviews. Not like in an edgy way, more like a disgruntled way, I would say, if anything. And I would say it's more cynical than the average thing, but he does raise some interesting points, I suppose. He's not, to me at least, he doesn't read as someone who's being like dissident for the point of being like contradictory. It's more like, you know, he's seen a lot, I suppose, throughout games and is tired of like same tropes, and is not someone who's willing to give a benefit of doubt, more like not willing to give leeway to, you know, those which should know better, I suppose. But, still sings praises of things that he does like to play as well. And honestly, the videos are very entertaining. And of course, it's called Zero Punctuation just due to the absolute, rapid fire speaking he does. And it might be even more insane for me to tell you that I watch him on double speed, like on most of my videos. So he's just, absolutely spitting straight fire, I suppose, while I'm watching his videos. It's absolutely crazy that he's just, straight up left. What's even crazy is actually quite a lot of people sort of, left. And they've gone to start their new company now, which I believe is called Second Wind, which if they do more zero punctuation stuff, yeah, I'll probably just go there to watch. It's crazy how much we sort of online companies, I know nothing about running a company. I don't own a company yet. Dun dun dun. Okay, I mean, it's not in my cards, but I could conceivably see myself in the future owning a company or something, or trying to start a company. I don't know what necessarily. I think an animation studio would be really cool, but let's leave that for me 20 years from now. It's amazing how many of these companies sort of self-implode, right? And then end up all their creators sort of leaving. They get a meteoric rise to fame and then just die. Not completely, but I mean, it kind of happened to College Humor. But College Humor kind of saved itself, I suppose, with Sam making it into Dropout and doing all this stuff to it. But College Humor was crazy big, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. 15 might be too long ago, 12 years ago or something. And then it just suddenly went not suddenly, it just went downhill. And then I think the company went bankrupt or something. I don't really know the exact full history behind it. But anyway, now it's been repurposed into Dropout. All the talent, most of the talent, I suppose, left or something and became contractors, I think. I don't know if any of them are full-time employees anymore for College Humor, but now it's just Dropout, and Dropout. Well, I'm subscribed to Dropout with their shows because I like their shows. They have a lot of cool ones. Play It By Ear is certainly my favourite, but also Make Some Noise and Game Changers is fantastic. Yeah, so I don't really know where I was going with this. That one's kind of survives itself. BuzzFeed is another big one, right? Where BuzzFeed was super popular for all these trending internet articles that you could read on there, and then they sort of not self-destructed per se, but fell through somehow. I only really know because I follow a channel called Drawfee, who used to be I'm not sure subsidiary of BuzzFeed's a really right word, but they used to have their show, I suppose, be with BuzzFeed, and then BuzzFeed just stopped, and I don't know, it just let almost everyone go. It's it's almost kind of crazy, just sort of how it happens. It also happened with Try Guys as well, right? Or maybe they quit. I can't really remember. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's necessarily easy to hold on to your talent, I suppose, when you own a company or things like that. Obviously it's kind of difficult, and presumably the people who are in charge of these sort of decisions are still trying to maximize stakeholders' money because of the way investing into companies works. It's you've got to make the stakeholders happy, and you make them happy not by having high value but by increasing in value, so they can, I guess, trade your stocks to turn a profit or something. I'm not extremely business savvy, so I'm not really the right person to ask. I have some level of financial awareness, but I'm not an economics student. Let's not go that far. But I wonder how difficult it is actually to run a company in that sort of sense. Obviously I'm not going to say running a company is a walk in the park or anything like that, but it's sort of me as a layperson looking at these sort of scenarios being I feel if I were the escapist, I mean, obviously I don't know what on earth is going on behind the scenes, but I would just be the entire thing is being carried by zero punctuation right now, surely. I don't know if that's necessarily true, and I guess it's kind of hypocritical of me to even criticise in the first place, since I really don't have any sort of perspective on the inside, or really on the outside, for that matter. But it just feels I don't know. I really wonder how these things come about. If anything, I would just like a peek behind the curtain. Because I'm sure sometimes it is just to incompetence through management, right? But I'm sure sometimes it's just like things which, you know, it's hard to see coming. I'm not saying completely preventable, not completely preventable, but more like, you know, it's not always something you'd think of. Maybe like a changing of the markets in a very unexpected way, such that your company is like not no longer needed per se, but no longer got the the driving force of popularity, I suppose, behind it anymore. It's become sort of old hat, old news. I would just like to peek behind the curtain to see really what sort of decisions went into things which, like, these companies which just completely failed, or for whatever reason. It kind of reminds me, I suppose, of a series I watch by, I kind of don't remember, for some reason I feel like the YouTubers call it Nerd Studios or something, but it doesn't sound quite right. But he makes the series Death of a Game, which is basically, I mean, he's got sort of like a noir-esque aesthetic going on, but it's basically a dissection of why certain games failed. Like mainly online games, I suppose. They're always very fascinating watches, because most of these games I didn't really participate in, so it's hard for me to exactly know the reasoning behind the failure of some of these games. But some of them I was curious about. Some of them I was like, I played in a little bit just to sort of see what was going on, and could follow on a little pieces here and there to see and trace, I suppose, the trajectory of the failure of the games. I think the one that always is the most interesting to me is WildStar, because WildStar, if you don't know, WildStar was a game which came out, it was one of those games which is like, yeah, we're going to be a WoW killer. It was like a sci-fi theme, and it had like a load of things. It was a real focus on like the hardcore sort of gaming side and like large raids, and it didn't flop. It had a pretty good start, and then it petered out and died. And from my own personal experience of why it personally died for me is, one, I couldn't play it for ages, because it had like a really expensive, I think it was like £40 upfront cost plus a subscription fee. And for me, who was probably like a 13-year-old or something, when I started playing, I was like, why would I play this game when I could play like these free to play games, like League of Legends or Minecraft, which I only needed to buy once. Why would I be spending a subscription fee and a large upfront cost to play a game which I don't even know if I like yet? But I did want to play it. I remember because I watched like the trailers for it, and I was like so excited by the trailers and the previews for what was going on, and the combat was super fun. But if you want my sort of post-mortem of why WildStar died for me personally, is I just never got really the opportunity to play it. It was too cost prohibitive for me. And you might say, hey, WildStar became free to play like 6 years later or something. No, not 6 years, maybe like 3 years later or something. I did actually play it when it came free to play, but I just wasn't interested in it by that point. Like all the hype around it had sort of died as reviews started coming in. People were like not that interested in it anymore. I remember I did play though during a Halloween event. There was something you had to do, I don't remember. There was like a 4-part thing you had to do for the Halloween event, like navigate some maze area, like while not running into ghosts, and I genuinely can't remember it all that well. I think you went into like an instance with like 4 people, and you all started in different areas, and you had to like meet up and do something. I have a vague memory of participating in that event, but yeah, I don't know, it's just like too little, that too late sort of thing. Tried to play it with my friends. My friends were not at all like hooked on it, so it just sort of fell by the wayside. What can you really do at that point? But it was also interesting to hear like what other factors really went into what caused WildStar to fail. And like one big thing being like how they actually got quite a lot of like interest at the beginning, but then they had server problems, and then like one thing they did was basically like increase the number of servers they had, which ended up splitting the player base like crazy once the initial surge died down. And then it was like, oh. And then they went free to play or like released on Steam. I remember exactly the same thing happening again, where they got a surge in players. They were like, right, let's make more servers. And then the initial like surge went down again, and it was like, right, okay, well now we don't have enough servers and enough players in each of the servers, which is just a wild thing to happen to you twice, I would say. But it is sort of fascinating, but behind sort of these management decisions, like From a consumer standpoint, I suppose, looking at these companies, I always assume, not always assume, but with broad strokes, I assume that most decisions are made with the specific interest of making money, unless it's something which is like not for profit. Then fair enough. I'm not to say that things can't be influenced by ideas and motivations which are not straight up for profit. Obviously, like to give an example, like League of Legends releasing a skin or something, the core heart of it is sort of like, it's there to make money, it's there to be a product to be sold, but I'm sure the artistic team also had like influence over it as well, being like, hey, we want to create like a nice piece of artwork as well. I feel like it's a bit cynical to, you know, we live in a capitalist society, I suppose, in the first place. It's a bit cynical to, you know, because of that, everything, cynically look upon everything being attributed in some way to turning a profit or making money to some degree, and then saying it loses inherent value that way. I think that's unfair in the sense of it's not like feasible in the context of reality, right? To judge things that way. But it is also something I suppose just supposed to bear in mind, right? So looking at these things, so I'm like, the idea like this was done to make money. It's amazing how many crazy decisions sometimes end up appearing, which seem to go completely not against the idea. It's always something like they do it to cut costs or something, but then it's sort of like they've been doing it all this time and they've just been like towing the line, seeing like how much they can get away with, and it turns out that this was how much they could not get away with. But it's always like the core element of it, something where they always just like lose. I don't know if we have inventory space. We don't have inventory space, so let's go clear out inventory to get rid of the rest of these flowers. You know, or like BuzzFeed or Escapist or whatever, and it's like losing the talent or just like not paying your employees enough. It's sort of just like it's a wild sort of thing. And I suppose it continues because some companies end up like getting away with it. Not in a way that I'm like blaming workers. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of people are just trying to, you know, make a living, right? What are you going to do? It's just more like it feels like there are some lines which would be too ridiculous to cross but end up being crossed anyway, when it comes to sort of like management-based decisions. But again, I don't really have much experience in the way of management. I don't run a business or a company, so I'm not sure if it's really fair for me to criticize in that sense. It's just sort of like I'm on the outside looking in, just absolute curiosity, being like, how do these sort of things come to pass? How do you become, like, I'm trying to think of like a really good example. I mean, I guess Twitter and X is a pretty good example. But I mean, that one, I feel like everyone sort of looks at it and goes like, what? I mean, the main thing that is very much of sort of the entire rebranding. It's like, why even bother with it, I suppose, in that place, in that way. Maybe that's not a good example, because that's so extreme purely just like, what? I want an example where it's just sort of just like, why would you do that? But not in a, wait, in a like a, did you not think it through sort of way? Or maybe I don't really know, to be honest, what I want. Maybe if anything, I should be taking a more positive aspect, being like, I should look at companies which are doing well, you know? And be like, I want to see a peer behind the curtain of what led to those decisions, whether they were informed or not. Because it certainly is one thing, I suppose, to critique these people, being like, oh, you know, these people don't even know what they're doing, like in leadership roles and in charge or whatever. And to an extent, that's probably true. But you know, I think it's a bit unfair for me to lob out criticism without any like evidence on my side to really back it up, except for my own feelings, which sort of make very flimsy. Not motivations, flimsy backing, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm here recording Animal Crossing videos for fun, so who really cares? Is basically the sort of TLDR of that entire thing. Like, I'm not really standing here stating my opinion as fact or anything. I'm stating my opinion as opinion, and more as a way to sort of conversationally fill a void. And yeah, and I suppose on that note, you know, job well done. So I guess I'll round this episode up here. If you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.